Hello there, and I'm back. Fernanda from Hitchhiking Stars, bringing you some insight about the lunations. So let's talk about the full moon. So the coming full moon in June, that's going to be happening on the 11th of June 2025 at 20 degrees Sagittarius. So it's a Sagittarian full moon, a fire sign. There's quite a lot of energy in the sky, connected with fire and air, and a little bit of an extroverted energy there. However, planet Jupiter has recently made a shift into Cancer. So this is one of the energies in the sky that's a little bit more introverted and focused in our inner life. So that Jupiter will have a powerful impact on this full moon as well. So it's not a classic full moon in Sagittarius because that ruler is in Cancer. So we've got kind of a pairing of fire and water here. So I would say a lot of the energy here would be about the bigger picture, but of our inner landscapes as well, or exploring inner landscapes, not just exploring out there and looking out there for answers, but looking within as well for some of these answers. So that's what I can say right off the bat. But let's keep it organized, as my Virgo planets expect from me or want from me. So let's talk about the Sabin symbol, as we usually do. And then we'll have a look at some of the aspects. What main aspects is this full moon in Sagittarius forming, and what this can tell us. I have the full moon's chart right in front of me. I can have a look as we speak, and let's do in that way. So first, let's talk about the Sabin symbol. So the Sabin symbol for 20 degrees Sagittarius is a child and a dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. So a child and a dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. Now that's a weird image. That's a strange imagery that was created for this particular degree of the zodiac. But also, I can definitely see some connections to the energy of this full moon, symbolically speaking. So I had to kind of think deeply about this image before coming here to share with you, and what this imagery can tell us, really, that would be useful for navigating the energy of this full moon. Now, first what caught my attention, obviously, was the eyeglasses. And to wear glasses, coming from someone that wears glasses, myself, it's really... Obviously, we can think about eyeglasses correcting something, correcting my vision, so I'm able to see from afar or something like that. But glasses have something to do with perspective, right? What kind of perspective can I have in a situation? And the point really here, why am I not thinking in terms of correction, is that the eyeglasses are being borrowed. They don't really belong to the child, and they don't really belong to the dog, obviously. So the eyeglasses are being borrowed here in this imagery, which for me does say there's something about perspective. There's something about a new, fresh perspective, and potentially seen from another's point of view as well, because we're borrowing glasses. They're not our glasses. And this is such a refreshing, important reminder when it comes to Sagittarius. Because the shadow of Sagittarius is self-righteousness, is fanaticism, is thinking that we know everything that needs to be known, or that our perspective is the only one valid, our truth is the only one valid, etc. So borrowing glasses is really reminding us during this full moon that other people's perspectives are valid and important. And obviously, this is the duality of Gemini and Sagittarius, right? So if the full moon is happening in Sagittarius, that means the sun is traveling Gemini. So we're really looking at the two axes here of perceiving knowledge, searching for knowledge, searching for learning experiences, but without losing sight, see what I did here? Without losing sight of other people's perspectives as well. They're all as valid as our own. And the same for our own perspective. If our tendency is to dismiss it, so I'm going to go with other people's ideas or other people's views. So this full moon would be the invitation to consider a little bit more balance here between my perspective, someone else's perspective, or some sort of fresh way of seeing a situation, worldview, etc. So that was very eye-catching for me, the borrowed eyeglasses. Now, the other thing I was thinking about was that we don't have a person, we have a child and a dog. Now, obviously, a child is just a small person, a person that hasn't fully developed yet, but still is not a grown-up. So we have a child and we have a dog as well. Now, that's for me also important in this imagery, and is also another invitation here to engage, right? To engage that part of ourselves that's not fully matured, where we are new, where we have those fresh eyes, where we are open to learning. So the process of learning and learning something new is very important during this full moon here. To keep our perspective, to keep our eyes, to see through the eyes of our inner child. And I don't mean through the eyes of our wounded inner child, but through the eyes of our inner child, with that sense of wonder, that sense of openness, that we don't know everything, that there are more things to discover, that there are other ways of seeing or doing things that can be particularly enriching for us, for our lives, for what we do. Now, obviously, you're going to have to weave more significance or more meaning into this full moon according to your birth chart. So, where is Sagittarius in your birth chart? In particular, where is 20 degrees Sagittarius in your birth chart? Is it in the 10th house? And that's going to be fresh eyes connected to career, direction in life, vocation. Or is it in the first house? And that's going to be about yourself, your sense of identity, who you are, right? So keeping yourself as a child open. You don't know everything. Asking questions, being open to answers, to the variety of human experience. Now, the dog as well, thinking symbolically, the dog, immediately I thought about instincts and intuition, because we'll be talking about the less rational parts of ourselves as well. And that's something that Sagittarius has a very strong connection with. It's an intuitive sign. It's half horse, half human. It really does talk about balancing these two sides, the human as well as the instinctual. So the dog will be bringing a reminder about that. But why a dog, right? What does the dog have in particular that's different from the horse and other animals? Well, that would be faithfulness, protection, loyalty. So some of the meanings, symbolically speaking, of dogs will have that connection to devotion as well, perseverance, knowing one's purpose. That's such a great one, knowing one's purpose. So we will look into a fresh perspective with borrowed eyeglasses, keep an attitude of wonder with the child and the presence of a child here, but also be connected with our intuition and that sense of knowing one's purpose, that sense of faithfulness and loyalty. It's also there in the picture. So all in all, I think it's a wonderfully optimistic picture as well, but it's an invitation don't forget, this is an invitation. It's an invitation to keep humble as well, to really keep humble and try to see through another person's eyes, through a fresh perspective. Now, with that as an attitude to navigate this full moon, let's have a look at the astrological aspects here as well. And what we have that's particularly strong is a square from the sun and the moon. So both the sun and the moon at 20 degrees Sag and 20 degrees Gemini are forming a square with the lunar nodes. So we've got the south node and the north node both at 23 degrees. So kind of a 3-degree orb here. But that square is saying that whatever happens as a release, as a combination, as a coming to fruition and consciousness here, which usually is symbolized by the full moon, will have something to do with our spiritual growth, with our spiritual path, with our evolution. Is evolutionary. It's really, really important to pay attention to this, to take it seriously in that regard. That learning, the fresh perspectives, etc., they could really have something to do with taking a leap and moving into the next phase, or becoming aware of what's holding us back from the next phase, right? This is super important. There are a couple of other things I want to mention here, and I think one of the other aspects here that I thought was fascinating is Mars. So we have Mars in Leo forming a trine to Chiron in Aries. So obviously Mars rules Aries, and both of them here, that Chiron, which obviously Chiron in mythology was half horse as well, is a centaur, and Mars in Leo as well, Leo, a feline, again gives me that feeling of balancing and healing that instinctual part of ourselves, that instinctual, intuitive, knowing without knowing, the irrational side of ourselves, healing it somehow. The moon, after becoming full, will come to trine both Mars and Chiron. And this could be a wonderful grand trine for healing. Healing our optimistic side, the hope, the trust that we will know what to do, that we will know what to say, and our creative energies as well. Self-expression and creativity, etc. Being a little bit more aligned. So I thought that was an important touch of healing that's going to be there for us with this full moon as well. And another important thing here that we have is the moon and Jupiter in mutual reception. I mentioned that for you in the beginning of this voice note, and I'm telling you, there's something about pairing up the watery nature with the fiery nature that's really, really under the spotlight. Not only for this full moon, but I think for the whole month. Because Jupiter in Cancer is forming some challenging aspects here with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So we've got that fire-water signature again, forming a square throughout the month. And there's something about the sense of belonging, and this is going to be repeated during the full moon towards the end of the month. But there is something about belonging and tending to our emotional needs and balancing that with our need for autonomy and independence as well. That's the fire-water conundrum in square. So we have a little bit of that energy there with Jupiter in square to Saturn and Neptune. And obviously that mutual reception. So Jupiter in Cancer ruled by the moon, moon in Sagittarius ruled by Cancer. And we have that little alignment, that sort of silent alignment here between the two. And again, an invitation to balance these two sides of our nature. Perhaps that would be balancing that child and the dog from the Sabian symbol. The dog, the more irrational side, the child as this more tender side of ourselves as well. So that's it. I hope this has been helpful, and wishing you a wonderful, powerful, healing full moon, and inspiring as well. Fire signs are very inspirational as well, potentially. So that's it. Take care. Enjoy this full moon energy, and I will be talking to you all soon. Bye bye.